Before S2PAfrica, I always felt like, I didn't know enough. I didn't have enough skill sets to be able to compete with the engineers out there. I was basically empty, so to speak. But after the internship, there's this boost in confidence that okay, now I'm at a level where I can see that these are the limits to engineering, and I'm happy that I already have this set of skill sets with me.
For me, S2P Africa is about redefining or reestablishing the importance of engineering in problem solving.
Hello, guys, and welcome to the Yang Fyong Show. Today we have two gentlemen in the studio, and I'll allow them to introduce yourself. So, going first, can you introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Fadi Ojifini Kayode. I am a mechanical engineering student, final year, University of Lagos.
Welcome to the Rakatan Studios.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Temitayo Omode Olayemi. I'm also a mechanical engineering student at the University of Lagos, final year as well.
Okay, we have two mechanical engineering students in the studio, and what we want to discuss is about S2P Africa. Fadil, could you tell us a little bit about S2P Africa from your perspective?
Okay, so from my perspective, S2PAfrica is an organization that wants to revolutionize the engineering education in Africa, Nigeria as a case study specifically. And their approach to teaching engineering is completely different from what has been done over the past few years. They are more into this empirical way of solving problems. So the way they teach is such that they allow you to visualize problems objectively. So literally taking you from the classroom and putting you in a position where you can see the problems you're trying to solve physically.
Okay, that's really interesting. So they put you in a situation where you can see the problem that you're going to solve.
Yes, exactly.
And this organization is based in Nigeria.
Yes, Nigeria.
Okay. Temitayo,
Okay.
what is your own link to S2P Africa, and how did you come into the S2P Africa project?
For me, my journey with S2P Africa started through schooling, through my internship, and then it culminated in the competition, which was held recently, which was an engineering design competition, which was held regionally here in West Africa. For me, S2P Africa is about redefining or reestablishing the importance of engineering in problem solving. So the emphasis of S2P Africa has been about connecting theory to problem solving. So not just bringing forth a solution because you saw it done somewhere. So it's more precise and more focused on the why you do things as opposed to just doing things. So for example, in the competition, there was a lot of focus on theoretical backing.
Hold on a minute. I know you're excited about the competition. So what I want to understand is, how did both of you get into S2P Africa, apart from being students, apart from being 500 level engineering students at the University of Lagos? Am I correct?
Yes.
So let's give Fadil a chance. So how did you get into the competition, since you brought up the issue of competition? Or how did you get into S2P Africa?
Okay, so how we got into S2PAfrica was through, I think, starting from our classroom, there was an info stating that the S2P was going to be receiving interns. So that was the first time we heard about S2PAfrica. So we applied. We applied for the S2PAfrica training. So after the application, there was a lot of applicants, and then there was a selection process, which was a long selection process and a very difficult one because we had to learn very fast, and then we had to justify what we had learned through interviews such as this one. So after the selection process, we were given the opportunity to actually have the stamp as, okay, you guys are interns for S2PAfrica.
Okay, so what was your own experience with the selection process? So let's just focus on the selection process from your own point of view.
Okay, it actually started with a new course that was introduced to students in the university. So it was like a trial run of a new course. That was where we actually got in touch with the personnel of S2PAfrica, primarily with Professor Fakinade. So then after that was when the extension for internship was made. So the selection process was actually quite rigorous. There were things we had to learn And then we had to justify. So we had things to learn. We had assignments basically based on those things. And then we had to justify those assignments in front of panels. So
You have to present the
yes,
assignments.
exactly.
You didn't just solve a problem. You had to show the solution and how you arrived at it.
And it wasn't like a problem where, X is equals to 5 kind of things. It was like you would make your design and then justify why that design is valid. You had to do that over and over and over and over again. So it was a long process of project, work, defense, project, work, defense.
So it was an iterative process,
Exactly,
basically. You do it, you show it, you take some, hopefully they challenge you positively, then you go back.
Yes.
So Fadil, tell us about the project that you did when you were in the last competition. You guys talked about competition. So for people listening or people watching, we are not really sure. Is it a competition to get your degree, or tell us about what you did in the last S2P project?
Okay, so we did a lot of projects in S2P, but if I'm talking about the competition specifically, we worked on power generation, specifically hydropower generation, and we came from the point of localizing the technology for a specific locality in Ogun State. So we started off from the case study that was generating power, and then we worked back from there. What do these people have? What can we use to generate power? How much power can we generate? So once we got our general numbers, then we went back to the system and then we started designing the turbines for the blades. So we designed different turbines. We ran multiple simulations, and then we tried to justify those simulations based on the inputs that we had. And then we saw that everything went well, and then we brought in more people because we were just focusing on design and simulation. We brought in people for manufacturing and the electronics. So we got the team together and then we applied for the competition.
Oh, that's interesting. So were you in the same team?
Yes.
Okay, so tell me from your point of view, how did you select this? Why did you select this particular project? And if you could be more specific on some of the steps that he has talked about.
Okay.
You selected this project. How did you go about it?
Okay, let me just give a bit of background.
Okay.
So the purpose of the engineering design competition was to see if students basically could propose solutions that had real impact.
Okay.
So not just a solution that was up in smoke, basically. So a solution that could impact either a specific geography or a specific set of people. So for me, I live in Ogun State, and near where I live is a village called Koye. It's a fishing village.
Okay.
And I observed that over time, these people did not have access to electricity, right? But they had abundant resources in terms of the Ogun River, which flows through the region.
A natural resource.
Yes, exactly. So after going through my internship at S2PAfrica, one of the things that we're taught to do is to recognize problems and think of ways to solve them in our locality. So when the competition came around, I got in touch with Fadil. I was like, oh, why don't we try and solve this problem for this locality? So we went to the sites, looked at, what do these people have? What can we, their problem, basically the problem statement was lack of electricity. Then we now went step by step, okay, what do they have in the region that we can use to solve that problem? Then we now looked at, okay, there's a river here. Okay, how can we harness this river to generate electricity? What are the different forms of techniques that we can use to go about it? What will best suit the conditions of the river? So it first needed a lot of measurements taken, then understanding, okay, what principles can we now apply to this local problem?
What engineering principles?
Exactly. What engineering principles can we now apply to this local area and this local problem? So we ended up deciding on a micro hydro system.
Okay, that's very exciting. So Fadil, how did you integrate? What type of knowledge did you bring to bear to be able to do this project? Was it all from the S2P project, or there were some prior academic things that were done that enabled you to be able to carry out this project?
To be frank, the bulk of all of my skill sets came from S2PAfrica, because it would have been impossible to execute all of the plans that we had without utilizing all of the skill sets that I learned from S2PAfrica. First off, we had to get the design parameters, and then we had to come up with a way of changing the geometries of the blades that we're going to test. So from S2PAfrica, we did a lot of projects involving Fusion 360 API. So
hold on. What's Fusion 360?
Okay, for those who doesn't know, Fusion 360 is a modeling software, modeling and manufacturing software. So all of the projects that we did was done mostly on Fusion 360 or the Autodesk package mostly.
Okay. Who makes Fusion 360?
Autodesk makes Fusion 360.
So it's Autodesk Fusion 360.
Exactly.
Excellent. Okay.
So we did a lot of projects involving the API. So I had to write the algorithm for developing the turbine geometry. So if it would have been impossible to do that if I didn't have my experience from S2PAfrica. So from there, Tayo on his own end dealt with the simulation and he used Autodesk CFD to carry out the simulation.
Okay, so I'm trying to process something here because I know very little about some of this simulation software. So Tayo, why didn't you just draw the turbine? Why did you have to allow him go into programming and all that? So I thought on Autodesk you just draw what you want and then you could have done the simulation.
Because that's the whole point that our internship taught us is like you don't just do what you feel like will work. Okay. You have to justify it with numbers. We have to test that. When I do X, what Y will I get? Mm-hmm. So the whole point of making a model that was fully parametric was so that we could change different parameters of the model and see how it would respond in response to the actual flow conditions we had on site, with the flow conditions we had at the river. Mm-hmm. So I took that model and put it into Autodesk CFD. So that's
CFD is computational
fluid dynamics.
Oh, okay. So my fluid mechanics is still, I still remember some of those things.
Yes. Okay. So it basically allowed me to see how each turbine would perform under different flow conditions. You know, it's a river. It's at some we needed to get the flow rate, the velocity of the water, turbulence, things like that. So we had to take all that into consideration, and it's those are some of the things that we learned after interning at S2P. So it was basically taking the turbine model that he had, because we're making a micro hydro turbine system, and then subjecting that to the flow parameters of the water.
Okay, so I understand that part. So the part I'm trying to understand is why did you have to? Okay, let me go back to the person that. Okay. Why did you have to use an API? Why didn't you just?
That's
do a
good.
Drawing or something? Because Fusion 360 could have taken that, right?
Yes, it could have.
Why did you have to use an API? And why did you have to go into programming?
Okay, so like Tayo said, the flow conditions of the river changes. That means you cannot have just one design for the flow. You need to have multiple designs. So using the API allowed us to be able to change the geometry without much force.
Because so it's more granular. You can change.
Yes, I can change specific geometric properties. Okay. So that gives us a lot of flexibility, and it saves time because we were on the clock. We had to be able to pump out designs very fast. And with the API, it was just a matter of changing some few parameters, and then you have a new blade, as opposed to having to design a whole new turbine. Yeah. You can imagine, we did, I think, almost 40 different turbines. Yeah. So designing 40 turbines individually would take a lot of time.
Okay. Yeah. And on my end, it saves time. Like if you want to simulate for each model, you will have to imagine, if you were making it from scratch, you would have to design not only the turbine, but the piping is going to be placed in from scratch for each
one. So you'll be doing 40. I mean, after the second design, I'll give up.
Exactly.
With the API, what you mean is that because it's equations and numbers, you can
change,
even make it to change, and then you see what
exactly.
It's clearer now. I left school so long ago, so some of these things you have to break it down to my level. Okay, so there's this common thing which I really, really dislike. People will tell you, why did they teach us all these equations in school? Nobody ever uses it. What will you say? I mean, how would you recommend this type of project to other people?
The kind of project we did.
Yes, S2PAfrica, learning how to actually design things with all those hard equations that the common theme now is nobody needs calculus. Nobody.
The funny thing here is, the moment you are thrust into S2P Africa internship, all those theories that you thought you were not going to need, you will run back to them. Because that was my own case. Because immediately we started the internship, I had to go back to my geometry textbook, and I had to start opening it because we're dealing with shapes now, and then you need to understand the basics of how those shapes are constructed, down to the mathematical formulas, because that is what you will input into the API. That's the program. So I don't take anyone seriously when they say, all this coding, all these equations that I'm learning does not have any use. It's because you have not been put in a position where you actually need to apply that knowledge. But working as an intern, you have to apply those knowledge. In fact, you will go back as far back as the most basic things you've been taught just to be able to like carry out some simple task.
Okay, you have to go back and learn your X, Y, Z. Okay, which one is
quadratic equations.
Quadratic equations. What do you mean by non-linear? I had a very heated discussion with somebody when he was trying to define what non-linear means. And I said, no, go back to your secondary school. Additional mathematics. What is it called now? We knew that additional mathematics. Go back and find out the meaning of non-linear. So, would you recommend S2PAfrica internship program to other people?
Yes.
Why? Why would you say?
Just to follow up on what Fadil mentioned, for me, I dealt mostly with simulation. Like, it is impossible to do that without the theoretical knowledge. Things like heat transfer, Navier-Stokes equations. If you do not, and the thing about S2PAfrica and why I would actually recommend it is because it instills in you the justification for actually understanding theory, right? Because you are working on actual problems.
That you need that theory to be able to...
Yes. Imagine for one of our projects, for example, we had to work on a heat sink. I had to go back and understand heat transfer before I could even begin any of that simulation.
Okay, so some of those things that you read and passed, you have to go and read and understand.
You have to actually read and understand it.
Excellent.
Or else you cannot think. You can't change any. You won't know what you're doing.
So basically, you need a minimum level of theoretical understanding, a minimum level of maths to be able to now go into actually using.
And that's what S2PAfrica does. Basically, it gives you a situation where you can apply the knowledge so that you are not just gaining the knowledge and dumping it in an exam hall.
Okay.
You are working on that knowledge.
Okay, just to close up because we're running out of time here. Fadil, being in S2PAfrica, has it given you any competitive advantage or you just maths, science, and APIs?
Before S2PAfrica, I always felt like, I didn't know enough. I didn't have enough skill sets to be able to compete with the engineers out there. I was basically empty, so to speak. But after the internship, there's this boost in confidence that okay, now I'm at a level where I can see that these are the limits to engineering, and I'm happy that I already have this set of skill sets with me. So,
yes or no? Did it give you competitive advantage?
Yes, it did give me a competitive advantage.
So this is so exciting, and what I'm going to do, I found out that we are barely at the surface of what you people did. We didn't go into your project. We didn't look at all the fantastic maths. So what I will do, we're going to schedule another session. You come in here, and I'm going to tell all the engineers to tune in. We'll do a live session where you will go into your project and actually show us whether you did this project or not. So all the engineers out there, all the science students out there, people who are interested in engineering in Africa and a new way of teaching, make sure that you tune into the next episode where we are going to have two of you come in and break it down. Sure, I assume that you want to come. Do you guys want to come back?
Sure, no problem.
Okay. If somebody likes what they've been hearing, they like what young engineers are doing, 500 level, right?
Yes.
How will they be able to get in touch with you, Tayo?
And you can get in touch with me on LinkedIn at Omode Temitayo.
Omode Temitayo. Guys, don't forget about that. Check under this, okay?
Yeah.
And S2PAfrica?
Yeah, S2PAfrica.org. You can get to it.
Excellent. Fadil?
Okay, so as for me, you can also check up on me on LinkedIn, Fadil Ojifini Kayode. So as for S2PAfrica, similar, you could just Google S2PAfrica. The first thing you see, that's the homepage.
Okay, guys. So take a minute from all your TikTok videos and looking at, scrolling and check out Fadil and Temitayo on LinkedIn and see what they've been doing. And for S2PAfrica, S2P, 2 like in, what is it?
The number 2.
So it's S 2pafrica.org, or use Google. It will take you there. Thanks so much for coming to the Rakaton Studios, and
Happy to be here, sir.
we'll bring you guys back here to break down that project so that we see what I'm doing. I'm going to go and read up on, what's that man's name? Whatever his name is.
Navia Stokes.
Neville Stokes. Okay. I was just checking them whether they, so both of them answer the same. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.
Okay, sir.